So in terms of where we see focus areas for the more developed amongst the Asia Pacific countries, I would say there is a lot of focus on what we call the radar. So that's an acronym we use to mean risk analytics, data aggregation, and of course regulations. So when I talk about risk analytics and data aggregation, it's around spending areas like credit risk, because at the end of the day, banking is still all about credit risk. So a huge chunk of IT spending for risk will still go into credit risk analytics, credit risk processes, and so forth, because it's not a one-off investment you spend on risk and then you stop. But especially for credit risk, it's evolving. So you have to always keep your policies and procedures updated, especially as the risk profiles of the customers keep changing, and you have to figure all that in and keep your credit risk profiling up to speed. Yeah, so almost in near real time. So there's a lot of investment in credit risk. There's a lot of investments in areas like data aggregation, so that it feeds back into your risk profiling. So the big data analytics and all that. So there's investments in around data architecture for that. We're seeing a lot of investments also, of course, in the other areas like market risk, trading risk, and of course enterprise risk management, ERM. So ERM is where you're saying you want a holistic view of the entire portfolio of the risk of the organization. So you don't want to just see this customer has this credit card and this is how much he's paying in interest for the card, but you want to see his entire risk profile in aggregate across the different lines of interaction with the bank. So enterprise risk management, and that's important because in a way, like the Asian crisis previously and the more recent one, that impacted the banks because they did not have a top-down holistic view of the entire risk portfolio of the organization, of the banking organization. So they weren't aware of, they're taking too much risk in this area and it's impacting the other areas of the operations. So that's why there's a lot of push now for ERM. Other areas of focus, of course, security. So anything to do with cybersecurity, IT security, those fraud management and so forth, that's huge because we talk about security risks. Asia is actually, unfortunately, one of, in terms of like cyber risk at least, it's ranked right on top. So globally, I was looking through the stats, and apparently Singapore has the highest per capita cybersecurity expenses, so like losses from cybersecurity. So on average, we're seeing cybersecurity expenses, cybersecurity cost is about $1,002 per head in Singapore, which is 4 times global average. So they're saying that a lot more cybersecurity activities happening in Singapore compared to like any other country. So which is not good. But I mean, obviously also because we are a hub for wealth management, we've overtaken Switzerland as number 1 for private banking. So that's why there is a lot of hot money flowing in. Then of course, where there's money, there's cyber theft. Yeah, so Singapore is huge. Indonesia is not much better. Indonesia has somewhat weak cybersecurity rules, so there's not much regulations in place at the moment. So in terms of the highest risk, actually Indonesia was ranked number 1 in terms of risk for cybersecurity. So Indonesia is high, Thailand is high, and I think the other country was China.